Hello, thanks for watching my video today. My name is Gene Hayes and I am a retired Marine Master Sergeant, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about the first book that I wrote titled Civic Action, A True Story, Marines Fighting a Different War in Vietnam. Initially, the Marine Corps trained me to be an aviation electronics technician at the Naval Air Station, Memphis, Tennessee. When it was time for me to go to Vietnam, I was selected to attend Vietnamese language training for 12 weeks at the Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California. From there, I proceeded to Okinawa, then to Da Nang, and then to my ultimate duty station assignment in Chu Lai. I was trained to work on TACANs, that's tactical area navigation, but as soon as someone found out from a published list that was circulating throughout my area in Vietnam, they found out that I had been through the language training. They set me up for an interview with Major Richard F. Reisner, who was the ground defense officer for the Marine side of the Chu Lai Command, and his secondary duty was that of Civic Action. And as it turned out, his primary duty was just switched to Civic Action Officer and then Ground Defense Officer. I was selected by them and joined them around March or April of 1968. And from there, I learned a lot about what they had planned for helping out villagers in the local area of Chu Lai and around our tactical area responsibility. When I finished that tour in Vietnam, I came back to California, stayed in touch with all my friends from the Civic Action team in Vietnam, and in 1996 I was selected to go to Saudi Arabia as a senior consultant to the Royal Saudi Naval Forces in Jeddah, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. While there, I was teaching basic skills to the Saudi naval enlisted, and after basic training I taught them electronics, aviation electronics, prior to them reporting to the Naval Air Station Pensacola for their formal school training. So we were a preparatory command. While there in 1996, I had a lot of spare time. I was retired from the Marine Corps. I brought a small notebook computer that my brother gave me before I left, and that's when I first wrote about the events that occurred to me during my tour in Vietnam. When I got back to the States in 1997, it lay dormant for a while, and finally I decided to go back to work on it around 2002, and the first editions that I published were printed by myself in a comb binder type affair. And the first thing I did was let my mother and my wife read it, and they liked it. And then I sent it out to the two most important people I wanted to tell the story about, Major Richard F. Reisner and First Sergeant Richard M. Peterson, Dick Peterson, both of whom were retired from the Marine Corps at that same time. They liked it immensely and suggested that I not change a thing. This was my memories from what occurred to us over there and not theirs, and they understood that, but they gave me carte blanche to write whatever I wanted to write about during that time I was with them. And so I did, and finally in 2002 I received a copyright, applied for and received a copyright from the National Archives. And for the next few years, I was producing these by myself, designing my own cover, doing my own editing, and going around telling people about the stories that I told inside my book. The main thing that occurred that impacted on me the most when I was in Vietnam was during a time in May that our Civic Action team was assigned to visit a village out in the area around Chulai. It was about maybe 7 to 8 kilometers from where we were at on base. At the time, the Civic Action Team was tasked with going out into the areas around Chulai that were designated by Americal Division G2, that's intelligence, as being hostile at night or fully hostile 24/7. So our job was to go out and try and find these areas and talk with the village chiefs and the elders, find out what it is that they had needs for, whether it was building supplies to add on to a school or a market or cement for cementing the wells around the water well. And then we would go out, make contact with them, and after we determined what their needs were, we went about finding the supplies that they needed. We didn't do the work. It was what we call a self-help program. So they got the benefits as well as the compliments for building the thing, and didn't have to credit us for it because we didn't take part in that. These duties also allowed us, when we were out in the villages and hamlets, to gather intelligence for what we could for our own Marine Corps intelligence, and then ultimately Americal Division intelligence. In May of that year, we found out just exactly what kind of impact that we had made in the surrounding villages and hamlets when Major Reisner and Dick Peterson were going out to a dedication of a Buddhist temple right outside our actual area of responsibility that belonged to another air group. Our Vietnamese interpreter, Staff Sergeant Kong, and I were both scheduled to go with the Major and Dick Peterson, but we got our times mixed up. When we got back to the base, they had already left. It wasn't but an hour or two later, when they re-entered our compound in Chulai, that we saw that our Jeep had been shot up. There were bullet holes through the windshield, through the seats, and all over the Jeep. As it turned out, our two individuals were attacked by a group of Viet Cong laying in wait for us. And it was very fortunate that Staff Sergeant Kong and I weren't there, but I talk about that story and the effects of it afterwards in my book. Ultimately, the Major received the Silver Star for his actions. Dick Peterson received the Bronze Star with Combat B. And you can read about this in my book if you're so interested. The other main thing that happened, which in fact had a deep impact on me, was a mission that we were assigned to by Major Reisner to go out to a previous village that had never been visited, about 10 to 15 kilometers from our area in Chulai. And we made the first trip there in first part of August in 1968, met with the village elders, determined their needs. They wanted school supplies, they could use some clothing, maybe a med cap, where we would send a Navy corpsman assigned to us to go out and tend to their first aid needs, as well as sanitize their wells, and so on. And we scheduled to come back there in about 2 weeks and deliver those materials. Now, most of those materials, as far as school supplies and clothing and so on, we got from generous people stationed in the United States, living in the United States, and they sent it through us, and we in turn would do the distribution on it. So when it came time for us to go out to the village, instead of just our regular team, we ended up taking out members of one of the A6 squadrons, VMA 533. So altogether we had about 11 or 12 people in our group. We drove our vehicles out the main service road almost to the district headquarters in Tam Key, And from there we had to park our vehicles and go inland about another 2 kilometers to get to the village. I tell that story also in my book, as it ended with and began a new story with Major Reisner disappearing. And he was declared missing in action, presumably captured by the enemy. It's a great story of personal courage and heroism, and I hope you'll take time to check it out. You can order my books on Amazon.com, or you can send me an email to rghays47@gmail.com, and I will provide you with an autographed copy. This is the first of a few videos that I plan on doing to talk about my other works and experiences. I hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate any feedback, and hope you have a great day.